Good evening. In the news tonight, a Vincennes man is charged with the murders of an Evansville woman and her 2 children, and an arrest in a 2004 Vincennes drugstore robbery.
In sports, the Indiana Pacers could be without a pair of key starters for tonight's playoff matchup with New Jersey, and Barry Bonds is closing in on Babe Ruth's home run record.
Newscenter 22 is next. Authorities say they've charged a Vincennes man with 3 counts of murder and a slaying of a woman and her 2 children. Vanderburgh County coroner identified the 3 killed as 38-year-old Donna Claspel and her 2 daughters, 13-year-old Avery Pike and 9-year-old Sydney Claspel. Autopsies were underway, but an official says it appears the 3 died from stab wounds and blunt force trauma. Evansville police said they've arrested 37-year-old Daniel Ray Wilkes, who is being held in the Vanderburgh County Jail. According to court documents, Wilkes confessed to beating Claspel to death and strangling Pike with clothing early on April 24th. He denied any involvement in the death of Sydney Claspel. A man wanted in the April 2004 robbery of Dusterberg Drug in Vincennes has been arrested in Illinois. 39-year-old John Hotwagner of Woodridge, Illinois, was returned to Knox County Wednesday to face a charge of robbery. A man claiming to have a weapon robbed the drugstore of cash and prescription drugs. No one was injured. Hotwagner is being held in the Knox County Jail on $10,000 bond. More than 1,100 people wanted for violent sex crimes are now behind bars. They're among more than 9,000 fugitives arrested in a 27-state roundup in the past week. It's the largest number of sex crime suspects ever captured in a single operation. In the Southern District of Indiana, out of more than 210 fugitives arrested, 11 were wanted for violent sexual offenses, including rape, forcible sodomy, and sexual assault, and 4 were wanted on charges for failure to register as sex offenders. Deputy marshals and local task force officers also seized 11 firearms, including 2 AK-47s and approximately 2 pounds of marijuana. A Vincennes man will spend 8 years in prison and 2 years on supervised probation after pleading guilty to 3 counts of dealing in cocaine. 22-year-old Michael Taylor Jr. pleaded guilty to the charges in Knox County Circuit Court as part of a plea agreement. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison and 2 years probation on each count, with the time to be served concurrently. The DuBois County Commissioners voted 2-1 this morning to repetition the Department of Transportation to return DuBois County to Eastern Time. Earlier this year, the DOT approved requests by DuBois, Perry, Knox, Davies, Martin, and Pike counties to move to Central Time. Commissioners in Martin and Davies counties have also decided to pursue switching back to Eastern Time, and it appears the Knox County Commissioners will do the same. County officials say they believe that if the counties petition as a block, they will have a better chance to having the federal government switch them back to Eastern Time. However, there's no guarantee the DOT will do so. Knox County Sheriff Steve Luce says about 250 items have been recovered so far following the arrest of 3 people involved in a multi-county theft ring. Luce says the items valued at between $100,000 and $200,000 were taken from businesses and construction sites in Knox, Greene, and Gibson counties since February. Most of the items are construction tools. Luce says detectives are investigating the possibility some of the stolen items were sold on eBay. Luce says anyone who had construction tools stolen will have a chance to claim the stolen items at the Knox County Sheriff's Department on Saturday between 8 and 10 a.m. You must bring a theft report if you have one, a list describing the item or items, a serial number, and a personal ID. The sheriff says a tip led to the arrest of a 25-year-old Lisa Sutton, 38-year-old Larry Sutton, and 35-year-old Lowell Sutton of Oaktown. They are facing preliminary charges of possession of stolen property. A pan of grease left on the stove touched off a fire Wednesday that caused about $5,000 damage to a Vincennes apartment. When firefighters arrived at 513 Stonehenge Drive, the fire had already been put out with a fire extinguisher. The apartment's occupants, Jeanette Fullington and Beverly Betts, were not injured. A preliminary investigation has found no mechanical problems with the plane that crashed and killed 5 Indiana University music students last week. An investigator says the final report could take up to 18 months to complete. Still to come on Newscenter 22, some disturbing news tonight about January's coal mine disaster in West Virginia. And ExxonMobil is reporting a first quarter profit of more than $8 billion. Stay with us.
Tune in to WVUT this Thursday night. At 7 on This Old House, contractor Tom Silva jacks up joists to make a floor level with an addition, while outside landscape architect Gregory Lombardi unveils his front yard plan. Stay tuned for Antiques Roadshow at 8. Then at 9, California and the American Dream examines the transformation of Los Angeles from 1973 to 2005. Thursday night on WVUT.
The survivor of a January coal mine blast in West Virginia is revealing more details of the desperate struggle of the dozen trapped men. Randall McCloy says at least 4 of their air packs didn't work. He says they shared them even as they pounded away with a sledgehammer in hopes of signaling rescuers. He provides the details in a letter to his co-workers' families. Iraq's new leaders are struggling against more deadly violence. U.S. forces today killed 8 attackers in exchange with rebels in Ramadi. A bomb in southern Iraq killed 3 Italian soldiers and a Romanian soldier in a convoy, and 16 more bodies of tortured victims were found. Major General Rick Lynch, the commander of the multinational force in Iraq, says Iraq's most wanted insurgent is growing increasingly anxious at the thought of a unified national government. Lynch says Abu Musab al-Zarqawi knows that a solid Iraqi government is a sure sign that he will fail.
We believe that's an act of desperation. That is indeed Zarqawi in his final hours. He knows that the people of Iraq are on the verge of forming a national unity government, and democracy equals failure for Zarqawi. So he's pulling out all stops. And in the video he said, you got to stop the democratic process. Anybody that enrolls or joins the police, the army, we got to kill. So he is indeed on the verge of failure, and the people of Iraq are on the verge of forming a national unity government.
Major General Lynch was referring to al-Zarqawi's appearance in a video recently released on the internet. In it, al-Zarqawi told fellow insurgents to continue to resist coalition efforts in Iraq. Al-Zarqawi even went as far as to say that his followers should kill anyone who joins the army or police. One of the most baffling things about Iraq for the U.S. military is the question, who are the insurgents? Many Iraqis feel loyalty toward their extended families and tribesmen. Arwa Damon is embedded with U.S. troops and went along as they raided a town, searching for a suspected insurgent. She found that these Iraqis weren't exactly happy to see the U.S. soldiers coming.
We're going down to a suspected bomb maker down south. We're going to go check it out real quick.
A tip and they are off.
Go.
Roadside bombs are the #1 killer of U.S. forces.
Our battery itself, we've been hit 12 times.
The platoon is moving along the bumpy back roads leading to the target house. The mission is a quick snatch and grab of a suspected bomb maker that they just received intelligence on, but they also suspect that it might be a trap. As they are approaching the house,
Just had a vehicle run from us, a black car that we were looking for earlier.
the chase moves up a notch.
Yeah, they caught him. We coming up to the house, there was like 5 good cars. They all went different directions. They just finally caught this one. He's not telling us the truth on everything, so he's going back to the house to find out.
He is allowed to leave, and the men move on to the farmhouse.
Yesterday in the morning. You have no idea where he went to.
But no one will talk. And then a twist. The main suspect calls and says he's been kidnapped.
They said he's kidnapped, and they wanted us to pay him $50,000 because he's bad.
But something is just not right about this scenario.
Somebody's watching. There's a house around here somewhere.
More bomb-making books are found inside.
Talking about the physics of it, the explosive energy of the plates.
They move on to the next house. Everyone here is related to the suspect. but no one seems to know where he is.
Come on, tell me the truth.
This raid was based on a tip from suspected insurgents these soldiers had detained here the day before. They were found to have a variety of bomb-making material. One of the detainees had talked, saying the main cell leader would be at this location at 2 p.m.
Short, fat fella behind us is the one that just got married.
Yeah, that's a fat guy.
Yeah, he's the one that just got married. He does not look happy.
But all the troops find are family photos.
We're gonna have to come back again in a couple of days, wait for the guy to show back up. He will show up. These guys are not gonna tell you the whole truth.
One tip, one mission. For these men, it's just another day on the ground. Arwa Damon, CNN, Dujail, Iraq.
The White House doesn't think much of a Senate report that suggests that FEMA be abolished. A Homeland Security advisor says, with the hurricane season just weeks away, it isn't the time to be doing any restructuring of the emergency response effort. A bipartisan Senate panel today detailed why it wants to abolish the beleaguered agency and start over. Senators Susan Collins and Joe Lieberman say that Hurricane Katrina exposed flaws in the Emergency Management Agency that are just too big to fix.
Officials in Washington failed to grasp the extent of the crisis due to inexcusably poor communications. The 86 recommendations that Senator Lieberman and I are proposing will help to ensure that government at all levels responds more effectively. Our first and most important recommendation is to abolish FEMA. FEMA is discredited, demoralized, and dysfunctional. It is beyond repair. Just tweaking the organizational chart will not solve the problem. FEMA has become a symbol of a bumbling bureaucracy in which the American people have completely lost faith.
The senators also said the agency's failures are responsible for a number of deaths. It's a waiting game for thousands of evacuated Romanians as the overflowing Danube River bursts dikes and courses through the waterlogged country. Many villages have already been destroyed by the surging waters, and many more are in danger. About 15,000 Romanians have been forced from their homes as flood waters have covered about 250,000 acres of land. It's a similar story in Serbia, Hungary, and Bulgaria as emergency workers battle to bolster defenses and beat back the swollen river. It may not do much to ease public anger over high gasoline prices. ExxonMobil, the world's biggest oil company, is reporting the fifth highest quarterly profit for any public company in history. With a gain of 7%, its earnings topped $8 billion in the first quarter of the year. Senate Republicans say it's a way to do something about high gas prices. They are proposing a $100 rebate check for millions of taxpayers to counter the higher cost of fuel. The proposal is linked to drilling in an Alaska wildlife refuge, assuring the measure will face stiff opposition from most Democrats. Legislators in Washington and leading psychologists, fearing that video games encourage violence in kids, are calling on the gaming industry to improve its rating system. We must warn you, some of the footage in this story is graphic. Brianna Keeler has more from Washington.
In 1997, Evan Ramsey went on a shooting spree at his Alaska high school.
I based a lot of my knowledge solely on video games. You shoot a guy in Doom and he gets back up.
But the school's principal and one student shot by Ramsey never got back up. It's scenes like this that has one congressman taking aim at the video game industry.
And it's about profit making, and it's not about the future of our children.
California Representative Joe Baca says the video game industry improperly markets violent and sexually explicit material to children. He points to a recent study by Harvard professor Kimberly Thompson that found disclaimers on games with a mature rating are incomplete.
But we found 81% of the games that we played in our random sample contained content that was not indicated by the content descriptors.
Thompson says some violence and blood was left off ratings and substance abuse was almost always ignored on the packaging. The Entertainment Software Rating Board, the industry group in charge of game ratings, says it encourages parents to monitor the games children play, but issued a statement statement critical of the study's findings, saying their philosophy would litter game packaging with descriptors for every type of content possible encountered in a game, no matter how fleeting or insignificant the impact on the playing experience may be.
Representative Baca is calling for the gaming industry to police itself, or the government may have to step in. In Washington, I'm Brianna Keeler.
New York Governor George Pataki says construction has begun on a symbol of our freedom and independence. After months of disputes over land use and money, crews are laying the foundation for 5 towers to rise above ground zero and replace the World Trade Center. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Kurt Maddox has this evening's weather.
Immigration has transformed California into the world's most multi-ethnic region. Minorities are now the majority and have gained the power to remake the state. Nowhere else has this played out so dramatically as in Los Angeles.
Well, Kurt, how's the outlook look for this weekend?
Well, we can expect some rain all weekend with a 40% chance or higher for both Saturday and Sunday. That's including Monday. Good evening, everyone. As we take a look outside, it's currently 72 degrees and sunny. Wind is at northwest at 9 miles per hour. Humidity is at 20%. The barometric pressure is staying steady at 29.98. Some area temperatures, we have Colleen, Indiana at 63 and sunny. The rest of the area is pretty sunny as well, with Shoals at 64, Elnora, Indiana at 61, and over in Robinson, Illinois, they're also at 61. Now, most of the nation has stayed in the 60s and 70s over the past few days. You can see down in Jackson, Mississippi, they're at 70, and in Shreveport, Louisiana, they're at 71. Now, we move down into Florida, you can see some 80s, like 87 in Miami, but our current hot spot right now is 90 in Orlando. Now let's go to the other side of that. The cold spot currently is in the Great Lakes region in Escabana, Michigan at 46. As we move west, you can see they stay in the 60s and 70s, but some 80s down in Texas. Like in El Paso, though, they're at 80. And Colorado Springs, Colorado is at 77 degrees. Now let's move up into the northwest, where 55 is Spokane right now, and 59 in Portland, Oregon. Our surface map will show this patch of rain over the Carolinas and parts of Virginia is the severe thunderstorms that were over Alabama, Georgia, and Florida yesterday. They're not as severe today, but they're still experiencing some heavy rain. This high pressure system centered over Arkansas is giving us the clear skies that we have currently, and that'll last until tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. Now, these patches of rain over Montana and the Dakotas will bring us rain over the weekend for Saturday and Sunday, and we'll welcome the month of May in with some rain. Now, the temperatures right now are 70s, but we'll be in the low to mid 60s for the weekend. So let's take a look at your forecast. Tonight, clear, a low of 41 degrees. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and 70 is the high. Tomorrow night, we'll see some clouds creep in, and the low will be 49. Our extended forecast is Saturday we'll have a 40% chance of showers with a high of 61, low of 53. Sunday an 80% chance of showers with a high of 60, a low of 50. And on Monday, first day of May, 60% chance with a high of 63, low of 46. And Emma, let's look at your weather.
Thanks, Kurt. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Michael Nyes previews tonight's games between the Pacers and Nets, plus highlights from last night's NBA action.
PBS sent 15 people to live and work an 1867 cattle ranch. Can they endure the heat, flies, and back-breaking chores? Can they get the job done? Can they just get along?
I hate Stan. I think he has a power trip.
Shut up, I'm not talking to you. Discover how the real West was done. Get back to work! On Texas Ranch House. Monday, May 1st at 7, only on PBS.
Pacers limp into Game 3. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Michael Nice. The Indiana Pacers are hurting for tonight's playoff game against New Jersey. The series is tied at 1 game apiece, but the Pacers have Peja Stojakovic, Steven Jackson, and Jamal Tinsley all nursing injuries. Stojakovic had a nagging right knee injury that flared up less than an hour before Game 2 Tuesday night, and he's not sure whether he'll play tonight. If Stojakovic doesn't play, rookie Danny Granger will likely start for the second straight game. Game 3 of the Denver-Los Angeles Clippers NBA playoff series will take place tonight in the Mile High City. The Nuggets trail the series 2-0 and will be without Kenyon Martin, who has been suspended by coach George Karl. The Los Angeles Lakers have grabbed home court advantage from the Phoenix Suns in the NBA's Western Conference quarterfinals. Kobe Bryant scored 29 points and Lamar Odom added 21 as the Lakers downed Phoenix 99-93 in Game 3 of the series. The Suns never fully recovered after falling behind 53-38 by halftime. Steve Nash led Phoenix with 29 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. The Lakers host Game 3 on Friday. The Detroit Pistons will head to Milwaukee with a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference quarterfinals. Tayshaun Prince dropped 22 points and Chauncey Billups added 20 as the Pistons knocked off the Bucks 109-98. Michael Redd had a game-high 29 points for the Bucks, who host Game 3 on Saturday. Also in the NBA last night, the Dallas Mavericks grabbed a 2-0 series lead by beating Memphis 94-79. 7-footer Aaron Gray of the Pittsburgh Panthers has announced he's going to consider the NBA draft. The junior big man hasn't hired an agent, which means he can still go back and play in his senior season if enough interest isn't shown by the pros. Villanova guard Kyle Lowry has also said he's making himself eligible for the pros. Like Gray, he has not signed with an agent. Damon Bailey wants to remain the boys basketball coach at Bedford North Lawrence, although it will require approval from the Indiana High School Athletic Association because he does not have a teaching license. Bailey led the Stars to the 1990 state championship as a player. He became the coach last season after Mark Ryan resigned 2 weeks before the start of practice. The school was able to hire him because the IHSAA allows for a 1-year exemption for someone to coach basketball or football without a teaching license. Bedford was 11-10 in Bailey's first season as coach. At the ballparks Wednesday, the New York Mets survived another Barry Bonds homer to beat San Francisco 9-7 in 11 innings. Bonds tied it in the ninth with his 711th career homer, a pinch-hit 2-run shot off Billy Wagner. He's now 3 behind Babe Ruth for second on the all-time run list. But the Mets' Chris Woodward doubled home the go-ahead run as Carlos Delgado smacked his 9th homer, and the Mets took the rubber match of the 3-game set. Albert Pujols has come through once again for the St. Louis Cardinals. The big first baseman drove in the game-winning run with a single in the bottom of the 9th inning as the Cards beat Pittsburgh 4-3. The Cards led 3-2 with 2 outs in the top of the 9th when Jose Hernandez of the Bucks hit a tying home run off Jason Isringhausen. The home run denied Mark Mulder his 100th career victory as he left with the lead. Pujols' winning hit came off loser Robert Hernandez. The Cardinals host Washington this evening at Busch Stadium. Baseball's number 2 man says Commissioner Bud Selig will likely pick a new owner for the Washington Nationals in a few days, and the team will probably change hands in June. Major League Baseball's Chief Operating Officer Bob Dupay says Selig intends to have owners vote on the sale when they meet May 17th and 18th in New York. 8 groups have bid for the Nationals, which have been owned by the other 29 teams since 2002 when they were still the Montreal Expos. The Houston Texans have the first pick in this weekend's NFL draft, and general manager Charles Casserly has narrowed down the field. Casserly told reporters that the Texans will take either Southern California running back Reggie Bush or North Carolina State defensive end Mario Williams. Casserly went on to say that drafting a quarterback would not be in the best interest of the team. He also added that as of now, the Texans don't have any serious suitors for the number 1 pick. Longtime football announcer Keith Jackson has reportedly decided to retire. He tells the New York Times he's finished with play-by-play forever. Jackson has been the voice of college football for years and was the first play-by-play voice of Monday Night Football back in 1970. And finally in sports, the owner of the Montgomery Maulers of the National Indoor Football League has fired the entire team. Every player. Jamie LeMunyon says she made the move because the players demanded back wages. The owner says she'll find replacement players for the next game in Osceola, Florida tomorrow. The mass firings came after 4 Maulers held a news conference saying the team wouldn't travel to the game if they weren't paid money they claim she owes them. And Emma, that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Michael. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Jeannie Mose gets a beer belly. Stay with us.
You want the truth. We'll help you find it. You want the whole story. We won't stop until it's uncovered. You want to think for yourself. We'll give you what you need to decide. Frontline. In a world full of questions, we answer to no one but you.
If overpriced beer and other drinks at ball games and movies drive you nuts, wait till you see the latest bring your own device. It's not bring your own bottle, but bring your own beer belly. Jeannie Mose tied one on.
You're looking at a guy with six-pack abs. We mean a real six-pack, 6 cans of beer poured in a pouch. The pouch goes in a sling. Slip the sling over your head. The sling gets Velcroed on, you put on a t-shirt,
Once we lose the hose, I think it's going to look pretty legit.
and voila! It's very realistic.
Well, I don't get the joke.
It's not a joke, it's a product. A product that lets you go undetected to, say, the ballpark or a movie loaded with beer or any other beverage.
Put some vodka in there, get a vodka orange if you wanted to.
So you don't have to shell out outrageous amounts for drinks or stand in line. You drink from a hose that you can stick through your collar, sleeve, or fly. Oh my.
You're sort of like a human keg.
The beer belly is unisex. Maybe a little tighter? It's like a bad-fitting bra. What a pair news assistant Chris Brown and I made. I sure had folks fooled.
Is the bun in the oven?
Oh my God! Do I say congratulations?
Oh, you definitely look like you're about 7 months.
When I revealed myself,
It's very sexy. Oh my God. I like it. I like it.
sort of like those empathy bellies husbands wear to experience what their pregnant wives are going through, self-described beer drinkers were smitten.
Wow. I'm serious. That's cool. That is so cool. We need more people drinking at the ballpark.
Yeah,
is that what you're
that's
saying?
exactly
We don't
what
have
we
enough. Where can you get one?
They're sold at thebeerbelly.com for $35. The owner of a California electronics company dreamed them up.
It kind of happened as a gag between a couple of buddies. We were just joking around about, how do you get beer into a movie or to a ball game without shoving a can in your sock?
Police say using the beer belly could violate open container laws. The website has tips for avoiding detection. If he's ever patted down, he's going to say, look, I have this medical device. You don't want to see it. Sometimes it's hard to tell the fake from the real beer belly. Yeah, but where's your hose?
My hose. Oh!
The creator has a follow-up product in mind. Instead of one, there'd be 2 pouches designed to add to a woman's bust.
We're going to call it the wine rack.
But for now, if you want to carry a 6-pack undetected, you've got to make yourself ugly with a beer gut.
But you're still drunk enough to feel attractive.
You're the bar. Belly up. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
And that's all for this evening. For Michael Nice and Kurt Maddox, I'm Emma Hall. Good night.